Hey everyone, I'm Anna Drake Warshaw. I'm with the University Innovation Alliance, and I am here today with Colin Byard. Colin is the Regional Fellow for the UIA's Bridging the Gap from Education to Employment project, also known as BG, where he works with campus teams at the University of Central Florida and Georgia State University. Colin, thank you. Colin's going to tell us a little bit about digital tools that are available for students and campuses to help continue their professional preparation while they're living and learning remotely. Colin, I know that you're really interested in these kinds of career readiness technology solutions. What got you so interested in learning about the technology that's available to students right now?
Yeah, back in 2018, when I first started this project, I spent the first little bit trying to understand the entirety of the landscape of career readiness. I was just trying to be a sponge and consume all that I could. And through that process, I discovered and learned that from about 2015 through about midway through 2018, over $2.4 billion had been spent in just over 250 organizations that were startups in developing college to career technology. And that was when I realized kind of where this problem was and where the private sector saw potential solutions. And I became immediately invested and interested in figuring out how can we use these, what's out there, what's available, what works, what is actually out to help our students, what's out to make a quick buck from universities. And ever since then, I've really been in that space trying to understand the landscape of this college to career technology boom that's happened.
That's great. Thank you. Well, we definitely appreciate all that you and the BG team have learned. And it's just great timing for you to be able to share with all of us who are trying to figure out how to adapt to technology and tools that are needed to help support students looking for transitions to the workforce at this really bizarre time. So we're hearing a lot about, as a first question, employers and organizations that are canceling internships due to COVID and to the economy. So how can we make sure that students can still access those kinds of experiential learning resources and opportunities as they prepare for the world of work?
Definitely. Yeah. And every day when I'm on LinkedIn, it's just more and more and more stories from students about the internships that they've lost and opportunities moving forward. Living in Orlando, living near Disney, I can't tell you how many students I'm connected with on that platform who have lost employment that way. There are a few different opportunities, I think, for companies and for universities and for students to move into this remote work environment and leverage the power of remote working for our own professional development benefit moving forward. In a few interesting tools in this space, two that are very similar to each other. There's a group out there called Parker Dewey, and there's a group out there called Ripen. Both of them offer what I like to call project-based learning. So what you can do as a student is log into this platform and find a project to complete that simulates a professional project that you might get in a traditional internship. You're not in the office, you're not doing a wide array of things, but you're able to really hone in and focus on these individual projects, and you're able to really get that learning out of it and focus on the professional skill development. And those projects can range from a lot of things. I was just talking to a student a couple days ago who is doing content blogging and search engine optimization, and in fact has so much enjoyed their experience of doing this project through Parker Dewey specifically, that they want to ask the company if they can continue to produce free content for the company because they're learning so much by doing it. And they're placing a high value on that skill development that they're getting from those projects. And a third opportunity that I've come across recently is there's another group out there called Upkey, who have recently launched an initiative just this week where they're looking to hire 1,000 displaced interns. So folks who have lost their internship and are looking for an experience. And it's not going to be identical to the experience the students lost, heavens no, but could be a really great opportunity for someone looking for those to use that summer time that they already had carved out to do this professional development to really engage in it. So there's a few different opportunities in this current juncture to do so. And I highly recommend that if you're a business owner or a member of an organization, maybe an HR unit, and are trying to figure out how you can keep your internship processes going, I recommend reaching out to these organizations and trying to figure out, instead of just canceling the internship experience for these students, how can you translate elements to it digitally? Many of you have a digital workforce already, and all it is figuring out that onboarding process. And so whether it's using one of these tools or figuring it out on your own, I think there's an opportunity to support students in doing remote experiential learning right now.
That's great. Thanks for that advice. So another challenge given the current remote learning environment is that students are having to navigate the job application process from home, maybe without the support service they might have had if they had easy access to career services, workshops, or staff. So what are some tools that can help students with that process remotely?
Yeah, and not only developing the materials, which is already so hard, but developing them to be truly exceptional in what's about to be a very difficult job market. And so I've got a few things here. I think that there's a couple, kind of like two buckets of things I want to talk about. One is, how do you create an initial resume or a very good resume? And then two, how can you ensure that this is aligned with what is going to be needed and what you need to do to beat the applicant tracking systems and the AI that these companies are using for first review, and make sure that you're getting those interviews and making sure that your application materials are optimized for each position. So in terms of creating a resume, I talked about Upkey's virtual internship platform. Their original start was in this space of teaching students what a resume needs to be and walking them through the step-by-step process and turning around a really strong first draft resume for them to take to career services and get it updated and ensure that it can become even better. So that's a really awesome tool that folks can use. There's also another group I'm aware of called Optimal Resume. I know Georgia State University uses them. They just put this awesome picture up of their student leaders who work in their office, creating kind of like a sentence, one word at a time with signs, about using Optimal Resume to help students build a resume during this time, which is really where I thought about that. So that's another great resume building tool. And then kind of at a bridge point between building a resume and optimizing your resume is a group called VMOC. I know at least a couple of our institutions have been using them in the past, and they use an AI tool to help folks build a resume and produce kind of like a percent match to different job opportunities to showcase to students on their own time, give an approximation of where they might be in some of those processes. And so that leads to a couple of really awesome tools that are both free for folks to use. One's called JobScan, and what that does is you paste in your resume and then you paste in a job description, and JobScan is basically an applicant tracking system that is looking for the match between the two. And so that can really help students identify the gaps that might exist in their current resume to a specific job description. And then a little bit more broad tool that just came out last week is MZ released what they're calling their resume optimizer. MZ's huge component of kind of their platform is that they're heavily focused on skills. And what the resume optimizer lets you do is compare your resume to job title skills that their database has pulled. So let's say you wanted to be a recruiter. A student could put in their resume with all of their wonderful things and then select recruiter. And then on the sidebar, it's going to show you have these skills that are often in these job descriptions. You're missing these. Are you actually missing them? Or did you just not put it on your resume? And provides you an opportunity to reflect through that and move forward. And so that's not just creating a job application material. There's a subsuite of tools you can use to just not only create, but optimize and ensure that you're going to be as competitive as you can be in what's inevitably going to be a very challenging job market come May.
That's great. Thank you. So, there are also a lot of events that aren't happening because of COVID, events that could have been really helpful for interviews and access to employers, for students. What tools exist to help get that information out to students virtually in the absence of career fairs or workshops or employer visits to campus?
Yeah, this is such a tough area because this is something that I think that we've been doing for so long. I mean, the career fair is really synonymous with the college experience from my perspective at this point. And so specifically around that, there's a couple of options. There are some tools to allow you to do a digital career fair. And I think that you could probably pull it off using Zoom or some tool you already have. But if you're looking to kind of bump up that experience a little bit, There's a group out there called Career Eco that does a digital career fair, and another group called Brazen that does as well. And this is a great way to simulate the career fair experience and ensure that our students can get face time with employers, and because we know that those referrals and we know that those experiences are so important for ensuring that students are able to navigate their way through large applicant pools and move forward. So it's kind of like bucket one around these in-person events that I've been thinking about. Kind of a second bucket is the traditional workshop. And last week on the call, we talked a little bit about, moving and doing some live streaming, which is really great, and producing our own content. But as I've been hearing from a lot of students, this transition to remote learning has really opened up their schedule, and students aren't necessarily available at specific times or certain times for those webinars and pieces. And so there's a great chance to do some content creation. On one of our campuses, they recently just created their own pathways in LinkedIn Learning. So your campus might have access for students to have LinkedIn Learning already. It's something that I know a lot of campuses do for faculty and staff, and students are continuously on the rise in that group as well. And what they were able to do is curate a series of content from both inside LinkedIn and outside LinkedIn to show to students. So students can learn on their own time using this content, and they're also trying to use it to flip their career appointments. So now when you're coming to a virtual career appointment with your advisor, you have a certain level of understanding of the topic that you are about to engage in, which is really exciting. Kind of a second thing that I've been super interested in, and at least one of our institutions is doing as well, are using instructional design tools, things like Articulate 360. Adobe has its own tool as well, to actually create course content that faculty can leverage in their coursework. I think our faculty are always looking for opportunities to plug and play. Maybe it's extra credit. Maybe you have a financial aid verification assignment at the beginning of your semester. Is there something easy we can do for faculty to utilize for those assignments that just basically involves them drag and dropping it into their LMS? I think that's a really powerful way to distribute content directly to students that way, and also have that content for other digital distribution methods via social media and other components as well. And so it doesn't replace the workshop. I think it augments or supplements some of the live streaming and webinars that are already happening, and provide students, again, that flexibility that I think is so important right now. Kind of the third bucket of things I want to talk about, because I personally find them very interesting, are, we all, I think, have a little bit more time on our hands, or at least that's what social media tells me, is that people are trying to find hobbies and are now knitting and doing more puzzles than ever. What about mentoring college students? And there's a couple of platforms that allow a really easy way for students to navigate and find mentors in a digital space via their alumni networks, right? So your institution can use their alumni to do so. One of the easiest ways is actually on LinkedIn. If you search your school's name on LinkedIn, you'll pull up and there's an alumni tab, and anyone who said that they attended your institution will show up in that alumni tab. And you can filter by academic program, years graduated, job titles, whatever. So you can reach out and make those one-on-one connections and seek mentorship that way. There's also more automated tools like People Grove and Wiser that are an entire platform dedicated to creating these kind of digital mentorship opportunities. And so, if what I'm seeing on social media is true, maybe that's a place, if you're an alum, you might be able to invest your time back into the students at your institution who probably now more than ever need a mentor. So those are the three buckets: the digital career fair, distributing content or information in a digital way, and then alumni mentorship and relationships that you can build that way.
Wow, Colin, you're very savvy in this space. You have you shared a lot of tools with us. I don't know whether to be a little jealous that I'm not, looking for my first job with all of these resources, or I think probably actually just glad not to be doing it at this time. But yeah, regardless, to say there are a lot of different resources and tools out there. So what would you say to someone who is trying to figure out how to get started amidst all of these different ways that they might navigate the job market as a student, or also as a campus trying to help a student?
Yeah, as a campus specifically, I think of two things. One, you say I know a lot about these tools. I know this. I mean, this is a vast market, And I couldn't cover everything that's in this in an hour, much less in, you know, the amount of time that we've had. And I think that's a really important thing to consider is like, do these work for you or not? I think it's important to be super honest with yourself about these things. They may or may not fit your students, your campus culture, your climate, which leads to number two, which is I think sometimes in higher ed, we fall into this, what I like to call the field of dreams model of educational technology. And what I mean by that is we believe that like if we build it, students will come. Well, that's not necessarily true or the case. And I think it's really important to figure out if you bring on a technology tool, how do you not just have it, but use it? How are you actually strategically leveraging those tools to improve your workflows? Because I don't think it's enough to just have it. I think that these tools can never replace an in-person connection. And so it's more important to figure out how do we use that connection to elevate the in-person communication? How can we use resume tools to ensure that our career advisors are able to use their expertise to help students really narrow in and tailor versus just create? I've reviewed so many resumes in my time, and if a resume is not formatted correctly and it's not at least close, it really limits the helpfulness of the advice that I can give. You know, these tools can be really great at ensuring your margins are correct, you're using a font that makes sense, you're using bullet points, you start with an action verb, all of those wonderful things. If you come to me without that, that's basically all I can tell you in the time that we're gonna have together. But if you come with those things, can I elevate that conversation? Can we talk about your career goals? Can we do some of that alignment? Can we really optimize that language that's in your resume? And that's what our career counselors are great at and passionate about. And they often don't get to do that. And I wonder if these tools can help that. So if you're gonna bring on any of these tools, don't just have it. Figure out how you're going to use it ahead of bringing it on board.
That's great advice. Thanks so much, Colin. This is such a timely perspective, and we're really excited and grateful for all the work that you and your colleagues on the BG campuses and on the BG team are doing at this time. So thank you everybody for joining us live. And if you're watching later, thanks for joining us later. And please don't hesitate to comment or tweet at us if you have questions. We can get you in touch with Colin, who says he only knows little, but he knows more than most about the resources out there at this time. So thank you all. Take care and have a good weekend.
Bye, everybody.